can you see? Can you see that okay?
Yes.
So when you log into NABOR.com, you got a main screen here, but there's a lot of stuff on here that people don't really know about. There's some quick links here. You can pay your dues. All the classes that are scheduled are here. You can look them up by what type of events, or if you're looking for a contract class, you can look at the education, and you can look for all classes, or you can look for a contract class. So if you're looking for a particular contract class, there's the sales contract, there's a listing contract, and obviously that's been taught already, and this one's going to be taught on Wednesday. But just an overview of any classes you might need for CE. Then you've got all the NABOR contracts are here, and I use this all the time. If you're like on the road and you need a contract document and you don't want to go into DocuSign and fool with all that, all the contracts are here and all the current versions are here. So this could be a nice easy way to get a hold of a copy of a contract. And then there's some reference materials that that the energy efficiency brochure and most all of the brochures you need are there. There's my friend, the timeline of events, that I think is really a good one. We've been over this in some of our classes, but for a NABOR contract, every key date that's in the contract is here, and that's buyer, listing licensee, closing agent, sellers, S. But if you get a NABOR contract and it's ratified based on the effective date, what I suggest you do is fill one of these out, put all the dates in, and then share that with your buyer or seller. And it gives you a good idea of what has to happen and what the time periods are, so you don't slip up on one. Then I also recommend you set up a calendar for your contract, and either put it in your Google Calendar or put it in your phone, or whatever you want to do with these critical dates. And then I always back them off a couple of days so that I can remind the buyer or seller, we got an important date coming up, especially deposit dates, inspection dates, a lot of little dates and times in here that can cause you some concern if you don't hit them. Remember, in the NABOR contract, the only time of the essence date is the closing date. So some of these dates have flexibility, but it's not a great idea to miss deposit dates and end of inspection periods and things like that, because they could cause you some angst, and all of this is all about your relationship with the customer. So this little timeline of events can be good. Oops. Wanted to stay on NABOR.com there. Okay, there we go. So if I go back to the top, in addition to contracts in there, there's the NABOR market stats are there, and they have them for every month. They have the infographic, which is very similar to the one that I send out, only our data includes all of Collier and all of Lee. The NABOR reports are just the NABOR market. They do not include Marco Island, but they do produce a nice report that was just put out today. And some people like, you can share this with your customers, especially those that are interested in the Naples market. Can you see that okay?
No, that's awesome. Yeah. Can you
Okay.
click on it?
So this just came out today, and like say, I send that infographic out for Collier and Lee about the 10th of the month. These charts usually don't come out until later in the month, but it's just a narrative on what we think is happening. We get together with, I think there's about 10 or 12 brokers and that sit on this panel, and we get together and just kind of talk about what's happening in the market. And in this particular case, especially in the Naples market, take a look and see that listings we're got a lot more inventory than we had 5 or 6 months ago.
Correct.
That's what we're seeing here. Very similar to what we went over, I think, last week on the market stats that I had for all of Collier, but this is just showing you that the market is becoming healthier. And there's another chart that I'll share with you in a minute, but this is a nice report. It's available on NABOR.com. It's pretty easy to get around in here. There's your infographic. If you have Spanish customers, we publish the stats we publish the infographic in Spanish, and it's out there for every month.
So can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So I didn't join NABOR yet. I'm still with Bear. I am joining NABOR. I just haven't done it because of the money yet, but I plan to do it. Thought I'd do it this week. Heather just gave me somebody that I'm going to work with on Wednesday that's moving here. So I have to be a member of NABOR to print those reports, right?
Yeah, I get them for you until you do.
Well, I think Autumn could print them for me too. So, but those are your timing. It's perfect timing because that's going to be something I can put in their folder for tomorrow, their introductory piece.
Yeah, I can send you the ones that I put out, but the graphs and the charts. I'll just send you those. I'll email you those.
That'd be wonderful. Anything to help me with her
Sure.
client. So that'd be great.
Okay. So I just want you to be able to go to, the Board of Realtors site for education classes, networking events, things like that. It's an easy site to navigate, and there's a lot of really good information in all of these things. And so the contracts are there, stats, MLS resources and products. One thing that's out there that a lot of people don't know about is floor plans. There's a pretty good library of floor plans that is maintained. You put in the community name. Yeah. Let's see what's there. And it will look through and see if there's any floor plans. No. But if you go to like Pelican Marsh, can you spell it? Yes. But you can go into these communities and you can see a lot of different floor plans. You can look it up by the different communities, and you can download these plans.
So
I'll give you floor plans if you're looking for your customer. So that's kind of cool.
That came up when I was with the infamous Max,
Yep.
because they wanted to know if they could take down a wall inside the unit.
Mhm.
And I had said that we'd have to get to get back to the county for the floor plans, because you can't really go by the floor plan that the listing agent gives you. But this is good to know because, Vanderbilt Country Club's got to have them on here.
Yep. So, and they're not all there, but there's a lot of them there. And if you know the particular community, but you see there's a number of them in there. I don't remember what the name of that subdivision was, but they're in there and you can get them, download them. Sometimes the developer brochure.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
that-
wonderful.
So anyhow, that just so you're aware that they're there. Someone called me today and said,
Excuse me.
I can't find the floor plan anywhere. There's an outfit called Precision Floor Plans, which has been around Naples forever. And you can call them you can get a color floor plan measured and drawn for like 10 cents a square foot. So even if you have a 3,000 square foot house for $300 or less, you can get a nice color floor plan drawn, or I think they do the other ones for 8 cents a square foot. But they measure it, they produce it, and it's a nice touch if you don't have one. And yeah, they'll show you structural walls and things like that.
Perfect.
So just giving you an idea that of what's out there, and where we got the stats.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a nice site. Like I say, if you want to get involved in any of the committees and any of that kind of thing, it's right there. So it's a nice deal. Okay. Let me see what else we got. So there's a few other things. There's one other report I wanted to show here that we keep for NABOR, which is kind of an interesting. So one of the infographics compare April of 21 to April of 22, which is great, except the problem is that 21 was probably the best real estate year ever on record in Naples. So when we compare a pretty decent year, 2021, it makes it look like they're a lot worse than that. There's a lot of heavy price increases and things that are based on just low volume. This here, which is similar to the one graphically, just shows you, the difference month by month, but also change from month to month. So if you look at close sales, this is January over December, this is February over January, March over February. So we're kind of taking a look at what's happening into the market month by month. And you're taking a look at pending sales, median sales price, average sales price, month supply of inventory. Look at how much the inventory has come up since December, from 0.8 to 9, all the way up to 1.5. And many of these 1.5s we haven't had since March of last year. Oh, you can start to see a little bit of recovery in month supply. Listings, really, we haven't had this many new listings since April of last year. So it signs that the market is
Hello.
covering somewhat.
I am so nervously excited. I don't know what to do with myself. Gosh, I feel like I'm like in Shark Tank and I'm about to I'm about to go in.
Starting to look both at month over month changes and year over year changes. And it looks as though month over month, the market is becoming more healthy. It's still very much at 1.5 months inventory, still very much a seller's market. But you can see that we really haven't had this much inventory for over a year, which is a good sign, meaning more choices for buyers. We'll look at a couple other things here in a minute, but the other thing that's really kind of a byproduct of this is, if you have sellers that you've talked to about the amount of equity in their home, and they're like, gee, I'd love to sell, but I don't have anywhere to go. As this month's supply of inventory goes up, more and more places for them to go are on the market, right? So everybody wants to sell high and buy low, but really the market that you sell in is the market you buy in. But at least there's choices, whereas, you look back in really from June to December, we didn't even have a whole month of inventory. So it was really difficult to go out and find a place for a seller that they could move to. So that was one of the reasons why a lot of sellers that were not second homes or whatever, that they were reluctant to try to put their place on the market because they had nowhere to go. All right.
Wonderful, thank you.
I also want to look at here. All right, let me go back. I want to go to and look at MLS here, so let me get that going here. I need to go back. Oh, Pesci. Hello, Pesci. Thanks for joining us. We're just going over some stats here.
Hello, thank you.
So let's see. Okay, so can everybody see this okay?
Yes.
Your lead screen on MLS?
Yep.
One of the things that is really interesting is this market watch. Now you can customize the market watch. We'll do that in a minute. Let's start taking a look over the last 7 days. You can vary this to from 24 hours to 7 days. But over 7 days, we have, this is all of Southwest Florida market. You can start to see, I can blow that up here. There you go. So you can see 905 new listings, sold 944, pending 1,008. So there used to be a huge discrepancy between the number of new listings and the number of pendings. Now you can see that they're, within 100 of each other. The solds and the new listings are starting to match up a little bit more. And look at the number of price decreases, 663. So that's probably a third of the market has had price decreases in the last 7 days.
Wow.
What's happening is what we see happening is people that were shooting for the moon, I'm going to put my place out there, and your real estate professional is like, what are you smoking? Or something like that. Maybe not quite that. But, it's just people were thinking there was no end to the increase, that they could get, double what they paid for it 3 years ago. And in some cases, some neighborhoods, that was true. But when you take a look at that many price decreases in 1 week, that that's an indication that a lot of people are really reducing their prices to more realistic levels to go ahead and try to sell. So that number was nowhere near that high in the middle of the season. So, you can start to see balance coming back into the market. And one of the interesting things here is this back on market stat, right? 202 properties have come back on the market in the last 7 days. And if we blow that up a little bit, and I'm going to sort this, need a different. Line show that. Yeah, I'm going to sort this by days on market. So there's 202. Down my size here a little bit. There's 202 properties that have come back on, 206 that have come back on the market in the last 7 days. All right, now I have to go to page 5 to get to 20 days. All right, so that's listing number 118 was back on the market after 20 days. So if 118 out of 206 came back on the market in less than 3 weeks, what is that telling you? That's telling you that there's still a lot of turmoil in the market in terms of people writing as is contracts, and maybe they're sight unseen. Maybe the people come down and go, oh no. But I mean, there's a lot of churn in the market when you see 111 out of 206 have been back on the market in less than 20 days. Now, if you're looking for a customer in a particular neighborhood, you can also sort this by development name or by sub-condo name, whichever you want to do. But if you're looking in a particular area, beach and tennis club, if you're looking, you can look at this and see when a property comes back on the market by the development there or by the association. So you can use this little snapshot from the front page of MLS to really get to dig deeper and get a lot more information. So every one of these is hyperlinked. You can customize any one of them. So if I just want to look at Naples properties and maybe Marco Island for the last 7 days, I save that. And then I get a new 7-day forecast there. This is Naples and Marco, 322 on new listings, 361 sold, pretty balanced. Pending less than, we're now pending less listings than so we're actually adding to the pot. We're putting more in new listings than we are pending. And the solds generally represent, a period of time, probably a month earlier that these went pending. So again, back on market, 58, 241 price decreases. So we had almost as many price decreases as we had pending sales. So it's a sign that the market's moving. We think it's in the right direction because there was so much demand for so few properties. Now, as we start to add properties to the mix and we start to see prices come down a little bit, these are not huge price decreases, but you can also look at this one and it will tell you what the drop is. Some of them, 10, 11%, 5%, 2%, 5%. So they're not 20% price decreases, but they are decreases. So it's a good measure of what's going on in the market. And if you in particular have a customer that's looking for a development, you can isolate that development and take a look at what's going on for the past 7 days and immediately start to see things as they change, and as opportunities come up for your customers, you can jump on these things. So this is a nice little box here, and it does allow you to customize it. And when you want to look at the whole market, just reset it, and that will show you all of Southwest Florida. Okay. Another thing that you can look at is if you just go to the search residential, and we're going to look at active listings. See, we're now up to 4,815. That number was under 3,000 in January. Okay. So now obviously that's the whole market. And if you just want to look at single family, it's 3,211. That number was well under 2,000. It was like 1,200 January 1st. So we're starting to see more inventory. We're starting to see an improvement in the market conditions for buyers and sellers that want to sell. All right. So that's my broker update for the day. But use this little dashboard. You log into MLS probably every day anyhow. So you
Absolutely. This has been huge help.
Oh, yeah.
So you can, and then if you want, we can do a whole class on InfoSparks. But if you don't have this widget set up, you can go here to InfoSparks, and that should take you to, there's a whole stats package built in here, and you can pick your area. You can compare up to 4 areas. Like if we want, sometimes we look at Collier. Look at now you can see we're comparing Collier to Lee. You can compare a particular development inside of Collier County to you can compare a particular development inside of Collier County or Lee County. You can kind of pick out what you want, and you can look at prices. If you want to do a custom range, you go here. You just want to look at prices in different ranges here. So it's very powerful. But but you just need to play with it a little bit to get the hang of it. And the board teaches a class on this, and it's pretty neat because you can do your own stats, and you can do it, as I say, you can do it by geo area, zip code, development. You can go in and look at a particular development versus another development. So it's very powerful and very useful, I think, to be able to compare what's going on. So here we are looking at median close prices, right? And we go back to 2019 in this chart, but you can vary that. You can go back 3 years, you can go back 5 years. Each month has a data point, right? So you can see that the median price in Collier County went up 34% to 618. And one comment I have, we've always looked at the median close price. And the reason that we've used median close price for most of our stats is because the median is obviously the middle. So the median tends to move a little less than if you look at the average, which tends to fluctuate a lot more. Because based on a very high sale, you look at the average is up over $1 million. That means that that's the average of all sales during the month. And we're tracking it, but we're also tend to track median a little bit more because the middle doesn't generally move that much. So why are these prices up so much? The answer is twofold. First of all, there's very little inventory in the under 300,000 price category, which up until pre-COVID, the 300,000 and under price category was one of the more active ones in Naples. Even though we're known for our luxurious homes, there were still a lot more properties being sold under 300,000 and under 500,000 than over that. So the median really stayed in the 300s for quite a while. Now what happened is all of a sudden that inventory in the under 300 dries up. And so the higher price sales are outnumbering the lower price sales, which is driving the median up. But I caution you that prices didn't go up 34%. The median went up 34% because there were more high-end sales than there were down in the lower price categories. So you have to be careful when you look at that number because it's based on a fewer number of sales than a year ago. And it's also based on the mix in what's going on. So if we had total sales, you can see we have a lot less total sales than we had last year. Climbing back up a little, but still from April of last year, look at the total number of sales going down. Why? Because we had no inventory. There you go. That's the month's supply of homes in, say, in April of 2021, we were 2.5. And now, then we went down to 0.6, 0.7 and went back up. So you can get to this package very easily. There's a lot of different stats that are available to you. Days on market, pending sales, new listings. And again, you can see new listings starting to trend up a little bit since December, quite steadily, maybe a little bump down in April. That's the trend is what we're looking at there. So this is really, and what you can do is if you see something here and you want to print it, you can do it, make a nice little printout. It's a PDF. You can send that to your customer. It's got your name on there and everything. So it's a nice little printout. Can you see that okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. And you can also, for those of you that are social media types, you can also generate the code to embed this into your social media. Okay.
Perfect.
So there's a lot of real good stuff in here. You can break these things down, to much more finite levels. You can look at just single family homes. You can look at just new construction. And, obviously the numbers aren't that big because we don't have that many data in the MLS. But if you wanted to look at a range of home sizes for a CMA, there it is right there. All right, so that's just kind of trying to whet your appetite a little bit there. So I'm gonna pause for a minute and ask if there's anything. We've had a few more people join us. Is there anything contract-wise that you'd like to focus on today? Or do you want me just to take it from here? Any questions, any things you've been running into lately? Okay,
No, I just do your thing.
all right, do your thing. That's what I'll do. All right, so, back, here. Let me just pick out a listing here. Okay, so let's do a little flow work as to what steps are best to take when you've got a customer that says, I'd like to write a contract on this property. So let's say we're in the MLS and we found a property. Okay, this is just one of our listings. I just happen to pick it at random. But, let's say you're showing this property and you're ready to write a contract on it. What steps do you need to take? All right, the first thing obviously is you want to have a copy of the MLS listing available. And if there are, can you see the screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. You see this little, at the bottom of the photos is a ability to look at all the photos at once. It's the ability to look at this property on the map and see where it is. It's the ability to look at the listing history for this property and tell what's happening to it, okay? It's the ability to look at supplements, all right? So you see in this particular case, this listing agent really did a really nice job of putting up the property disclosure, the HOA disclosure, the budget, the application to the association, and all of the documents that you need to prepare the offer. Now, a lot of times you're not going to get that fortunate, but this happens to be a really good choice for a listing because it shows quite a bit about what a good listing agent. I don't want to give Michelle Combs too much credit, but she's a great listing agent. Anyhow, you can see just from this listing alone that you have a lot of information that you can use to write your offer. I always like that screen. And let me go. Here, and let's do for 93 Cypress. We're going to go to the property appraisal office. Okay, so then the next thing I like to do is I like to go to the property appraiser's office. and I like to look up what's in the property appraiser's database for that property. 93 cycles. Okay, I'll be right back with you here. Cycles view. Okay. I'm gonna start my share. All right, so I went to the property appraiser's office here and I looked up that property that we just looked at in Matrix, right? Now, why do I do that? Because before you write an offer, you should always go to the property appraiser site and look for a few things, right? So what do I see here? This is in a trust, right? This is the legal description of the property, right? This tells me where it is. And this is the selling history of the property on the county records. Now, what happens when I click on this? Can you all see that okay?
No, we can't see what happens when you click.
Can you see the warranty deed? No?
No.
No.
Okay, hold on, we can fix that. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the warranty deed. Now, why do I want to look at the warranty deed? Because I want to make sure that I look at the grantors and the grantees.
Correct.
Grantor is Gary Marsick, and the grantee is James Stewart Downs and Carol Downs as co-trustees of the Downs Family Trust, dated November. Okay, so when I write the offer, regardless of what MLS says, which may be an abbreviated form, I know this is the seller is the James Stewart Downs and Carol M. Downs, trustees of the Downs Family Trust. And the seller is the Downs Family Trust, and the trustees are Stewart Downs and Carol Downs. So what do I know when I write the sales contract? So that I include everybody on there and that I have the right sellers signing. Now, if for some reason I just see the Downs Trust and I write the contract and I don't have Stewart and Carol signing, do I have a valid sales contract? The answer is probably not. So I always like to take a look at the warranty deed, and the warranty deed's given me quite a bit of information here. So that when I go back to look at the property appraiser site, now I've established ownership. What else do I know here? I know if I look at the property detail, I can see that in 2019, there was a permit to add a screen enclosure. So this is a partial list, at least, of what's happened permit-wise. And remember, we always want to check for open and expired permits. And, let's say you went to this home and it was heavily updated. You can see the last permit that was pulled for this property was 2018. Maybe that might make you a little suspicious that, wait a minute, did they pull permits for all these updates? You see a new roof and you don't see anything here. Make you a little suspicious, not necessarily the final list, but just a good reference, all right? So now I can also look at the square footage. And I can look at the aerial location of the property right here. And I can look, if it's a single family home, as this one is, I can look at the sketches. Not having much luck here. All right, so I can look at the sketches, and the sketches tell me, based on the outside dimension of the property, which is what the property appraiser measures outside dimensions only, right? And when they estimate the square footage, this is 1649 under air and 776 above, right? But the property appraiser for valuation doesn't appraise the same. They appraise the upstairs at 70% of that downstairs value. So you can start to see what's going on with the property. You can take a look at the size of the garage. All of these areas that are not in blue are not considered part of the living area, the air conditioned space. So I'm just trying to learn as much as I can about the property before I write this offer. Now, how long should this take me? 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops? But to me, it's very worthwhile to look at these things before you start to write your offer. And hopefully, you have you're not racing through, you're trying to intelligently move through the property. What else can I see here? I can see the tax bill. All right, so
What?
I went down to, the last time I had somebody fly in for business,
Yeah.
I went down to Naples Soap Company and got a Naples soap bag.
Oh,
And
nice.
they have Naples insulated.
like, see that? Okay, so it's not a bad idea to look at the tax bill. See the last one.
It's a great idea. Mama came.
A couple of things here. Tax amounts, ad valorem tax, that's county collected tax. We'll see non-ad valorem, which happens to be waste management. If that number is bigger than that, it could be a CDD or an FSD that's collected by the tax collector but administered separately. In this particular case, there's no CDD, so that non-ad valorem amount really is the waste management amount that's collected and paid directly to. All right, so let's take a look then. This is the itemized school bill. You can see the non-ad valorem was garbage. And you see the collected and administered by the county. All right,
I'm sorry, Jeff. Can we get everyone to mute? It would be a little bit easier to understand.
okay. Let's see. Okay, I think you guys muted in Heather's office, right? Okay, good. So we're getting a little noisy in there. I can understand. All right, so back at the ranch here, we've now gone to look at the property appraiser site. We've looked at the warranty deed, right? And we've looked at the tax bill. So now we have a pretty good idea of what's going on here. And now we're getting to the point where we can, let me close up some of these windows here. All right. Share the screen. Try sharing again. There we go. All right, so now I'm back to my, I'm back. Can you see that? Okay, I'm back to my MLS listing. So now I always recommend you keep this as one of your tabs, because when you go over to start writing your contract, you can, if you're like me, it's pretty easy to transpose a square footage or, even a legal description and everything. So I like to keep this page somewhere handy. And then we're going to go ahead into our command dashboard here, and we'll try to go through the steps that you need to generate an opportunity in command. All right, Let me go here. Here. Stop share. Share screen. Let's see. Here. 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 Share screen. Okay, so we've gone over into command. And here's why I recommend you use command to do your contract. Yes, you could go directly into DocuSign or .loop, whatever you're using, and you could generate the contract in there, but then you'll never be able to connect it to command for the purposes of sharing documents. So I always recommend you go to command, you go click on your opportunities thing. Everybody can see that, right? Yes? All right, so we're going to go to opportunities and we're going to see where it says create opportunity. All right, so I'll do buyer. Search for I'm the buyer. Okay, so I'm beginning to create my opportunity. It only takes a few seconds. If you have a tag that you have in there, if you have an estimated close date, maybe you work with the lender and the lender says, oh, sure, we can be ready by June 17th. And we get from our MLS, we get the commission rate, which is 3%. We're in an opportunity. We're going to make this an active. It's really important that you make this an active opportunity, because otherwise you won't be able to submit it for approval. And whatever opportunity stage we're on, let's say we're in negotiations. All right, so now we've created an opportunity, but I want to always like to have the opportunity name be the address of the property. So I know you can't see this, but I'm going to go over here and copy the address of the property in so that I have that as my opportunity name. So now I've created an opportunity. Can everybody see that okay? Yes? Just wave your hand and say, yes, I can see it. Okay, good. All right, so now we're coming up to the details here. And in there, we have some information that we've just put in when we created the opportunity. The opportunity name is now the property name, and I'm the buyer. So if you had not yet had a contact name in there for your buyer or buyers, you needed to create the contact name before you start the opportunity. So if you haven't created it yet, you need to create the contact name and address and emails, put all those in because those are going to help you later. And then you'll have all of your information that you need. Any of this information that's needs to be changed can be changed by, you can see the little pencil here. The other thing that's very important is that you go ahead and you identify the particular property. And you can see by putting the property name in, I've now got a drop down from the KW MLS system, KW LS, and now I've got all the information in there about my property. You have to put that in before you start creating documents and everything, so that the system knows that what the property address is that you're going to be writing the contract for. Okay. So here's my buyer profile. If I was registered online or was talking to them, they were in the KW app, they would show up there. So the next thing is my documents. All right. Now, you can see where I can say start a transaction here. By putting the opportunity in, okay, I can start a transaction. And it's going to take me right to my DocuSign room. Going to ask me for my okay. So now let's see. What is everybody able to see? Okay, everybody can probably see that okay, right? It says participants can see your application. Good. All right, so what we've done by going to command first, setting up my contacts, then creating the opportunity, and then starting a transaction is I now have a link and it's created a room for me in DocuSign. I know some of you use .loop, same deal. It will create a loop under the name. And I always like to use the property address, because if I use Jeff Jones, or if I use Sam Snedeker, that's not going to tell me much about the opportunity. So I always like to suggest that you use the address, then you can always go back in command and look it up, and it's easier to reference it. But now you see what's happened here is I've created a room with that name, and I've linked that back to my opportunity. So when I want to pull documents back and forth, I can easily do that because the two will be linked together. If I go directly to DocuSign or to .loop and I create my documents, then the only way I can get them back into command is to download them from DocuSign or .loop and then re-upload them back into my opportunity. It's not the end of the world, but it is extra work and extra linkage. So you might want to save yourself a little bit of trouble. So now I can go into documents, right? And I can add a document. And we're going to add those from DocuSign forms. And I can add all of the documents that I want, right? I got NABOR forms. I can do a NABOR sales packet. I have no idea what the difference in those two are. Let's just see. And then I also have my libraries here. 913 is the library where I would use the affiliated business disclosure and any other things that are particular to our market center. So I can go on down here through all the sales documents, and I'm going to write a regular sales contract, residential improved property. I know that it's in a HOA, so I can actually have the HOA documents uploaded with the contract, so we'll go there in a minute. But anyhow, I can pick all of the documents that I want to add that are relative to the I can pick that, but I know I have one that I can bring from the listing. All right, so let's add that to the contract. I can go into my sales contract now, and I can begin to write the contract. However, broker Jeff just missed a step. But we can figure this out. Let's get out of here. Let's go into details. So I recommend that you go ahead and put some information into these details here. Again, if you've got your MLS up, you can copy a lot of this information directly from the MLS in here. And you can put any fields that you put in here will be auto-populated. And I don't want to make this a DocuSign class because a lot of you use .loop. But any information that you put in here regarding the seller or the buyer or the listing agent will automatically, you can see that I'm auto-populated in there as the buyer's agent, but I'm also the buyer. So any information you put in here, right, is automatically going to auto-populate into the contract when I bring the contract up. All right. So all I've done here is I've connected in command the sales contract and affiliated documents. I put my details in here, and then I'm able to go back to my documents, and I'm going to bring the sales contract up, and it's going to have in there all of the information that I need to create that sales contract. That's by going to details and putting in the information for the seller and buyer, and for the, you notice it's put the property information already in there for you. Okay. So that's come over from what we put into command. So does everybody start to see the linkage on how you go into command, you create your opportunity? Now, once you put the contact in, now all of that data is being shared as part of the contract. And that's the ability to follow that step in the flow of put the contact in, go into command, put the contact in, then put the opportunity name in, which I suggest to be the property address, then go to your document handler, and a lot of that information will already be filled in. And you can gather a lot of that by just going to your MLS screen. Share. There we go. So here I am back on my, so let's, it's easiest probably on a laptop, but I have the property appraiser tab up, and I have the MLS tab up, and I have my contract tab up. A lot of this information, like the address and things, can be copied by just copying and pasting, and save yourself a lot of typing. So you should be able to take the MLS sheet and the property appraiser sheet and copy a lot of these things in. For example, there's your property ID number, and go on down here, and if the there's a listing agent's information, there is the legal description can be copied in. So I recommend that you not try to recreate the wheel by retyping all this stuff, especially how would you like to type that legal description? Now me, so then the other thing you can do is you can go to your, there's my HOA disclosure, right? And I can go ahead and download that and save it in my downloads file or wherever I want to save it. There we go. So now, I've taken the information down from the listing and I put it in a work area, and then I can always go back to my DocuSign screen, Hope I'm not jumping around too much here, but I'm trying to give you the idea of how you can do a workflow. So now I can go into my documents there, and lo and behold, I can add from my computer that HOA disclosure. Kaboomski, all right? So now I've got that in there, and all I have to do is put that in my packet. It's already been signed by the seller. The information's already in there. So I can get information from the listing screen and bring it right into my document pack. So what else might I not have there? Let's see, let's stop sharing. Let's look at what I've got on the screen. Okay, so a lot of this information I can gather from the two sources that we talked about. And then I can go in any attachments that I have. And if there are any other things that need to go into my contract, they're right there. There's my seller's disclosure. Okay. I can take my seller's disclosure and download that. And then I can go back to my So I'm back to my room again. I can add that seller's disclosure. So there's my seller's disclosure, my homeowners association disclosure, which I got from MLS. I didn't have to recreate it. All I did was drop it down. Now, when I create my packet, which would be the sales contract, the HOA disclosure, the seller's disclosure, when I'm creating my envelope or my loop to send to my customer, all of those documents are all right there. And so now I can build my contract right in this room here. And the nice thing is then when I go back to, all right, so now I'm back in command where we left off. And you see this go to transaction. Now I'm linked between my DocuSign and my command, so I don't have to recreate the wheel. And I can look at all the room docs, all right? And so if I want to, so now I know if I want to look at the sales contract, I can select that once I get it all filled out and just bring it right back in. So it's a nice feature. Let's see if I got it in there. Yeah, there you go. So you see these documents are now being named, and they're now, I have the ability to just point to them and immediately bring them into my documents screen, right? So that's it's a time saver. And all I'm doing then is pointing to the contract document and bringing it right in. Then I can submit it to the market center. That's the compliance. I can submit it to the market center for review and approval before I get my transaction. Okay. So I'm not going to do all that in the interest of time today, but I want to make sure that everybody is kind of getting the idea of the flow between command and DocuSign or .loop, back to command, bringing the documents back in so that you're now creating a complete document package inside of command. Now, once I've created that, see what I can see here. Okay, now the last step here is everybody said, says, how do I create a DA? How can I get paid? Well, that's easy. You go up here to offers and commissions, right? There's no offers yet. So we're going to put our offer in. We can create an offer, right? And the date's today. We're going to close on June 17th. And we're going to put the property location in there. On that, we got all right, so we got our purchase offer, and we want to go in and put the parties in, that I'm the buyer, the seller. I get that information again from going back to MLS. Remember, the seller was a trust. So if you look here, see, this is why I said to look at, I'm going to show you this screen if I can here. Let's see what we got. Can you see that screen that says that has the property information on it or not? Let me just make sure I'm showing you the right screen. There we go. Okay, so this is the property information that I got from the ticking the PID under matrix. Notice it just says Downs. I can't write the contract with that, but I know that I went to the property appraiser's office and it's the Downs Family Trust. So that's why I think it's always really important to go over to the property appraiser side and figure out who the actual owners are, because on the sales contract, if you don't properly name and identify and have signatures of all the owners, you could lose your contract. There's an owner in there that's not listed in the sales contract. They can always say, wait a minute, hold it. I didn't agree to that, so therefore this is not a contract. And does it happen? Yeah, I bet you it's happened 3 or 4 or 5 times this year that I got a call from a distressed associate who said, I just got a call from the attorney. He says we don't have a contract. Well, you got to follow the homestead laws and make sure that there isn't an owner that's being left out of the process, because all they have to do is raise their hand, call an attorney, and they can stop the sale. So be careful to use the property appraiser's information when you can to make sure you've got the right piece. All right, a couple more things here. Let's see. Okay, now I'm back to command. And I know that this is the Downs Family Trust. I don't necessarily have to have all that information. I want to know who the associates are. And I have to put in anything that's with a red dot has to have something in there, right? So I'm going over to my terms, and let's say we're gonna do an 80% mortgage. How's that? We're gonna offer 520,000. So we're gonna offer a total. There's our offer. We're gonna put down 20,000. And there's no seller contributions or anything like that. Now I can come over here and I can say, you know, that this is a great offer, whatever notes you want to put in there to, and what are some of the pros and cons. This is an optional area for you to note. And now I've got my offer in there for 520, cash 104. There's my earnest money, what I'm going to close. So now I'm going to go ahead and that offer goes through. I'm going to accept that offer, right? Now the good stuff. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to be able to put in, going to edit the general information. And the contract date is 5/23. Closing date 6/17. And then there you go. So that will put in based on your split and everything. It will automatically calculate what you owe, right? And then there's your commission. And all I have to do is hit submit. Now that's submitted for consideration of a DA. Once that's submitted and the documents go to compliance and get approved, then they'll issue your DA and put it right into your contract file. Here, I don't want to submit this because I'm not going to buy this house, but I can go back in here and I can take a look now at my opportunity. So once I've submitted these documents that are required here, and I've gone to submit to MC, and I come down here under contract, once all that's done, your DA will be loaded right there. It will be loaded by the Market Center Administrator. And the only thing I can want to remind you of before we sign off is just because they put your DA in there, right, doesn't mean that's going automatically to the closing agent. You've got to take that DA out of there and copy the first page at least and email it to your closing agent. That's the only way they're going to know that you want to get paid directly at the closing table. All right. So that was kind of a mouthful, just saying. But hopefully you got the chance to see, we didn't go into the details of writing the contract, but we went in through all the mechanics of creating the opportunity, creating your room or your loop, bringing all the documents together, whether it's from the library, DocuSign library, .loop library, or from the listing or from an external source. And we built our room. Then we got that room connected back to the command library. We put all our documents together. We submit to MC. That comes to yours truly, who's the compliance officer. If there's an issue, I'll let you know. If not, you get approved and you've submitted. You saw where the submit button was for your DA. Now you've submitted your DA, and always recommend you do that as soon as possible, because you don't want to be waiting to 3 or 4 days before closing. And then our MC is poor Faye is chasing around at the last minute. Put that in right away. Your DA will be uploaded. as soon as you get approval of your contract docs, you can send that DA directly to the closing agent, and that's how you get paid, which is why we have all this fun, right? So it's 3 o'clock and you probably had enough for the day, but at least well, everybody, when they call me, they go, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do, because, you know, you have to go through the exercise of working through the flow. And if you use command as your friend, as we did, all the information's there. You notice we submitted our offer and our request to get paid. All of the associated documentation was there. Everything came together, and I don't know about you, but I didn't break a sweat. I thought it was fairly straightforward. And as long as I follow those steps and do them in the right order, I'm good. But remember to start with contacts, create an opportunity, then go to your contract document package, create that either by forms from the forms library or a combination of those that are uploaded to you, like the seller's disclosure, Hoa Disclosure, any other documents, you know, that might be required to go with your contract. And then you put your contract package together, send it to your customer to sign. It comes back in, you can put it right into command. And then submit it, and you're pretty well good to go. So I know that if you've never used command or you're new to command, it seems like a mountain of effort, but hopefully today we saw where it's not too bad. You just have to follow the right steps in the right sequence. So that's all Broker Jeff has for the day. Well,
That was awesome.
Thank you.
and any questions, you know how to get me. You got my cell.
Really appreciate it, Jeff.
Okay. Ashley, was that any good?
I got a lot out of the very beginning when you're just doing your broker update. And
Yep.
I've just put it on my calendar to attend as many of those as I possibly can, because that was
Yeah,
just, I've never even seen before.
I try to do that. Osra says it's so complicated. It's not complicated if you follow the steps. And there's a little document called How to Get Paid in Command that we went over last week. So that's also in the library, but I'll be glad to send it to you. It's just a matter of breaking it down, taking it one step at a time.
Yeah, no, the stuff that you were doing at the beginning with Matrix, with just some of those graphs and some of the changes in the market. I mean, I know it's all there and I've seen it when I look stuff up, but if you don't know what you're looking at, you really don't know what to click on and what to pull together. So any of those that you want to send me that I can use with Heather's person tomorrow, that would be great.
Yeah, I can send you the charts from April and the graphs. So I'll do.
Okay.
Okay. Osra, I'm sending you the list of what we went over today. So hopefully you won't think it's so complicated. All right.
Oh, thank you. It was awesome.
Actually, did you do okay today? No response.
Yes, thank you. Sorry.
Very good. Y'all have a good afternoon, and please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.